let's get started by talking about the NBA Finals. And as I mentioned, the Warriors and Celtics series is now tied up at 2 games apiece. For the Boston Celtics, 1-3. The Golden State Warriors, 1-4. Game 5 will be tomorrow night and Monday night back in San Francisco at the Chase Center. And I really do not believe this series is complicated at all. I think a lot of people are overthinking this series, partially because I think for once in our lives, Boston is being rooted for by the majority of the country. Of course, we all know how people despise the Patriots dynasty. We all know they despise the Red Sox success in baseball. But, the Celtics, they have not won a championship since 2008. They have not made the NBA Finals since 2010 prior to this season. Where Golden State, we've seen them, obviously. This is their 6th finals in the last 8 years. They are 3-2, trying to get to 4-2 in the finals. They are showboating. They are cocky. And this Boston team is not that, right? Jason Tatum's not a showboater. Jaylen Brown is not a showboater. Al Horford is not a showboater. They are just physically tough. And of course, you can add Marcus Smart and Grant Williams and Robert Williams to that equation as well. But the fact of the matter is, in today's NBA, it's all about shooting. And the team that shoots the ball better is going to win the game. And Golden State, I know Klay Thompson has struggled at times throughout this series, but Golden State, in my eyes, has 3 reliable shooters. You got Steph Curry, you got Klay Thompson, who is, we know, going to give you something. Some nights he'll give you 15, some nights he'll give you 30. It's a little inconsistent, but I think it's a little bit less inconsistent than what Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown will give you on the other side. And as I said going into this series, even if Tatum and Brown were to equal the scoring output of Curry and Klay Thompson, the difference to me is Golden State has a 3rd proven scorer in Jordan Poole. Now, again, when Steph Curry goes on a magical run like that in the 4th quarter of Game 4, when he scores over 40 points, like I predicted he would, I was not on the air, but you can ask my family and friends on Friday before the game. I predicted he would. I predicted Boston would win Game 3. I predicted Golden State would win Game 4. I predicted we'd be going back to the Chase Center 2-2 after, of course, Boston stole Game 1 in Golden State, and then Golden State came back and held serve in Game 2 in the Chase Center. That's why we're at a 2-2 series right now. And I just feel Golden State overall is the better team. I mean, we know, obviously, Game 4 was the Andrew Wiggins game. What do you have, like 17 rebounds? We know Draymond Green is not as effective as he once was. He's basically been a liability in the offensive end in this series. We saw Steve Kerr take him out in major offensive sets during Game 4 in critical parts of the game. But Golden State just has championship DNA. And they know how to overcome bad, slow starts to games. And Boston does not have the killer instinct. Jason Tatum is a really, really good player, vaulting potentially into superstardom, though I think in order to do that, he has to cap this off and win the NBA championship, because in Game 1 and Game 2 at the Chase Center, he did not show up in the game in the moment. I understand he had some big games against Brooklyn. He had some big games against Milwaukee. He had some big games against the Heat, where I keep saying, Tatum, he's coming. But listen, he's been in this league now for 5 or 6 years. He's been in 4 conference finals. They keep saying it all over the broadcast. Him and Jaylen Brown both. They get to the conference finals every year. Well, that's not enough, in my opinion. The conference finals at different stages than the NBA finals. And Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown need to arrive on this stage, because Jaylen Brown did not play well in Game 4. Up and going into Game 4, you could certainly have made an argument that Jaylen Brown is the MVP of the finals so far. If Boston was going to win the series, because I think he had a more consistent series than Jason Tatum, then he did not show up in Game 4. Because I just think the moment is too bright for Boston. Listen, they're a really good team. They're a really good story. They were under 500 going into 2022. They turned it around. They righted the ship. But the fact of the matter is, this is Golden State's series. Steph Curry in game 4 had a legacy defining game. You were down 2-1 in one of the most hostile environments in all of sports, the TD Garden in Boston. Klay Thompson was not really giving you much. Otto Porter, who they inserted in the starting lineup, was not giving you anything. Draymond Green was not giving you anything, as always is now the case. Kevon Looney was not giving you anything. Klay Thompson was struggling early. Jordan Poole was on gold. And Steph Curry, 43 points. Golden State needed all of his 43 points to pull away with the 107-97 victory. I think Golden State is the better team. I do not think Boston is going to win another game this series. I really do feel like this series wraps up in Game 6 next Thursday, and Golden State will be crowned the NBA champion for the 4th time in the last 8 years, which, as we said before the finals, like them or hate them, whether they had Kevin Durant or not, to win 4 championships in an 8-year or really in a 7-year period from 2015 to 2022 is an incredible accomplishment. Over the last, 8 NBA seasons, 2015, 2016, 2017, 2018, 2019, 2020, 2021, 2022, that is, of course, 8 NBA seasons. They have really just dominated the NBA, and again, to win 4 championships out of it, 2015, 2017, 2018, 2022, and it just keep this dynasty going. It's very Spurs-like. We know Steve Kerr obviously compared Steph Curry to Tim Duncan, and for Curry, after this 8-year run of being in 6 NBA Finals, going 3-2, but never winning a Finals MVP, this is his chance. This is his team. I feel like even more than the 2015 team, obviously 2016, if he would have won, probably would have won Finals MVP. Though Draymond Green had a huge Game 7. He had a great chance in 2019 to defeat a Raptors team, which was not better than Golden State, but he could not overcome Kawhi Leonard and Kyle Lowry and Fred VanVleet and Pascal Siakam and all those guys that Toronto had. Once Klay Thompson went down and Nick Nurse went to that box in one set. I wonder if Boston will go to that strictly because you don't feel like, again, you know what you're going to get from Klay every night. It feels like Klay is a little bit on and off. Klay, I think, is 1 year from being healthy. And Jordan Poole, some nights he shows up, some nights he doesn't. Feels like he shows up more at home than he does on the road. I do feel like Draymond Green will harass and intimidate. That's why he's there. We mentioned a little bit ago, he does feel like an offensive liability now, but he's still there and he's still effective on the defensive end. I think for Boston, I think that they are a point guard away. We know they have their wings for the future in Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. I think we all really do like Grant Williams and Robert Williams. With Al Horford, obviously they're going to have to move off him eventually, but if he keeps playing at a high level, he can be a good role player for them. I don't think Marcus Smart is a natural point guard. I know Marcus Smart is the defensive player of the year, and that's where you kind of have to play him because Tatum would really be a small 4. And so in order to move Smart to the 2, you'd have to move Brown to the 3 and Tatum to the 4. That would be a really small lineup. But I do feel like that Boston needs a more traditional point guard, a guy that's not going to score, but a better distributor than Marcus Smart. And then when Tatum and Brown can go out of the game, what Golden State has, again, when Curry and Klay come out, Jordan Poole, that third scorer, a guy who can even come off the bench or potentially start, they can give you another option, will make Boston really hard to defend because when Marcus Smart makes shots, they're almost unbeatable. And you can tell what Golden State is starting to do is what Boston started to do to Draymond Green. Just leave him open. And this series may very well come down to Draymond Green versus Marcus Smart, who can make more open shots because both teams now have an offensive liability on the court. Fact of the matter is, though, this series has been a really good series, really well tug and play. The better shooting team in each game has won every game. The better team is going to win the series. That better team is Golden State. I am now worried about Steph Curry's quote-unquote injury. I didn't really feel like it was a real injury. I know there was speculation that, oh my God, there was the same injury he missed the last 15 games in the regular season with. I always said if it was a playoff game, he would have played with those injuries. Golden State practically had the 3 seed locked up. They didn't want to risk him for the postseason. It was a smart move, clearly paying off now. And Steph Curry, again, a legacy defining performance for me in the game on the stage. Game 4 of the NBA Finals. That was special Friday night. And I do feel like Wednesday night was the last win the Boston Celtics are going to have. I'm sticking to my guns. Golden State wins the championship next Thursday night. We will be back here next week talking about the Golden State Warriors as the NBA champions, not previewing Game 7 of the NBA Finals.